With the spread of non-interest or Islamic banking, nearly 80 countries across the world have embraced an alternative financial offering. It is open to all, irrespective of race or religion, and is based on the ethical principles of fairness, transparency, and objectivity. Here in Nigeria, Jaiz Bank Plc is the premier non-interest bank. It started with a regional license from the Central Bank of Nigeria and opened its first branches in the northern part of the country in 2003. Thereafter, Jaiz metamorphosed into a national bank on May 12, 2016, with a key presence in virtually all the geopolitical zones of the country. The bank is publicly quoted on the Nigerian Stock Exchange with a balance sheet size of 233 billion naira as of December 31st, 2020, from 12 billion naira in 2012. Its financing and investment assets also grew from over 30 billion naira to 166 billion during the same period. Other critical parameters such as customer deposits, branch network, and profitability have also grown year on year since inception. Now joining us from our Abuja studio to discuss the bank's service offerings and expansion drive is Hassan Usman, Managing Director of Jaiz Bank. Good morning, Mr. Usman. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's talk about Islamic financing. It's obviously becoming more popular in the country with many entrants in that subsector. Many years back, it was something people wanted to understand. But now that it is established, how can the government of Nigeria leverage this mode of financing to solve problems, create jobs, promote agricultural revolution policy, energy, and address the challenges also of underdevelopment?
Well, Islamic finance, by its nature, is transaction-based, or you call it asset-based. So the federal government can use, as it has recently started using some of the instruments like the Sukuk, which it has used to raise well over 350 billion in the last 3 years to develop roads, specific roads around the country. This mode of financing for public expenditure means you cannot divert the resources, you cannot use the money that is raised except for that which you have intended. So it's give credence to the utilization and also ensure that these resources are earmarked for specific developmental projects. Now, if you look at the other side where you are looking with the SMEs, Islamic finance tend to be more risk-bearing and sharing with the SMEs. So encouraging this type of financing or banking means that the SME sector can grow with the support of this type of financing, which shares risk and the reward of whatever business is done. So in essence, this variant of financing is more on the spot. It's not an absentee financing instrument. It tends to be more involved and therefore ensures more discipline in the utilization of resources in such a way that you can ensure delivery. It's also opened itself with the right environment to the PPP environment, where the private sector using Islamic banking products can actually work with government to develop long-term infrastructure, because the profit sharing arrangement allows that to happen.
So as a key player in the ethical banking sector, in what ways can you say Jaiz Bank has actually touched the lives of Nigerians?
Well, in a modest way, since we started 2012, we've been able to grow our activities around financing real sector of the economy, bringing new industries, new companies coming up, which is very difficult in the environment, as you are aware that we have. Also financing the SME and working with vulnerable groups, women groups, people at the bottom of the pyramid, working with them because we are ready to take that risk and to nurture them, give them, rather than a loan, we give them equity and share in their profit and the downside if it happens. We also are ready to do that, controlling the risk environment and ensuring that people do not take advantage of that product with the type of discipline through the group arrangement. And we've been able to see that that can happen with a very reasonable level of success, especially our experiment and pilots that we are doing working with women, over 5,000 of them over the last 1.5 years with very minimal default. So this energizes us, and it's given us hope that definitely with the right environment, the right product, and the right orientation, we can work with the people at the bottom of the pyramid, not as a gift or dash, but to work with them so that they can develop their entrepreneurial skills, grow their business for the benefit of both the bank and the economy and the individuals that are also involved. So there is a number of things that we can do, and what we have been trying to do now is to work with the spectrum, either from corporate to SMEs, to bring this diversity to them in terms of product offering, let them understand what Islamic finance is all about, let them see the difference, and also ensure that for those who are used to financing, they have an opportunity to diversify the portfolio of financing mix that they are doing. They can take the conventional, they can also take Islamic product, and they can see how the differences, and also give them some kind of diversity and portfolio diversification of the financing need that they have for those that are already in the mainstream. For those that we have to include, those who, for ethical reasons, they've not been part of the financial system, we've been able to bring a lot of them into the financial system through the ethical products. And that has proved to, even in very difficult times, has proved very satisfying to us personally. And because of our orientation and the type of product we have, we are able to also layer a number of transactions like takaful insurance for those that never would have imagined that they would be adopting insurance, seeing that even as a nation, the level of insurance penetration is low.
Right. Jaiz Bank held its AGM recently, where it declared dividends for shareholders with improved gross earnings and higher profits, compared to the previous year. Can you tell us more about this, and what is the bank doing differently for this significant results it has recorded?
Well, first of all, as a model, what we have tried to do, like I said, is to work with our customer base to create value and share that value between us with a very high level of equity around it, and that make them to patronize the organization the more. We've also tried to consolidate and expand to cover many areas of the commercial centers in Nigeria. In addition to the fact that with the introduction of the scoop, our treasury function has improved, because if you know that for more than 6 years in of our life as a bank, we didn't have instrument to invest our surplus liquidity into until the scoop came in 2017. So this number of initiatives, and the fact that we are also mindful of the costs that we incur, made us to not only ensure that our profit is growing at more than 50% per annum, but also that the size of the organization for the last 3 to 4 years has been growing at more than 30%. As you know, in 2020, we grew our balance sheet by almost 40%. Our financing, which is the risk asset that you call in conventional banking, grew by about 54%. And deposit grew also about 40%. So overall, we experienced, in spite of COVID, we experienced a relatively successful year. And this has also continued. If you saw our half year, also we grew our profitability by almost 70% over June 2020 for the half year. So yes, part of what we've been doing is to try to optimize on our treasury operations. We also have been able to expand the business by opening more branches, as well as covering more now the SME space in order to grow the economy and our balance sheet as well.
Okay, quickly, let's talk about the Forex policy introduced recently by the Central Bank of Nigeria, when the Central Bank decided to move the sale of Forex from the Bureau de Change to the commercial banks. What's your take on that? You know, now that banks are the sole distributors of foreign exchange.
Well, you know, the central bank has always taken a number of initiatives to ensure that foreign exchange is made available to those who genuinely need such a foreign exchange, either because they have to travel or they have some medical reason to obtain tertiary medical care abroad, or they have children or wards that are studying, they have to pay their school fees. So all of this, the central bank has tried to deliver through the Bureau de Change. But as you know, Ruben, traditionally, it's the bank's job to provide all of this anyway. But in order to bring this very close to the customers, that's why the central bank was using the Bureau de Change. But as you know, this process has been abused, and it's becoming a very huge hole for leakages in the system. I think that the banks, if you watch over the last couple of years, have been trying to be very responsible, very conscious of the need of the nation. The banks have come to participate in every issue or every situation that requires our help. We've under the leadership of the governor of the central bank and the bankers committee, they try to do almost everything that is possible to support the community and the government to deliver, whether it is social service or some issues of the nation, to intervene where necessary. And this is also a case where the bankers committee has taken this assignment very, very seriously. Not only to ensure that this foreign exchange is available to customers, but also to strengthen the system so that those who are gaming this system will be checked out and be dealt with, so that the nation will be better for it. Because few people should not be gaming our system and making policy and strategies of the government and central bank for fiscal and monetary policies impossible.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with the chairman of Jaiz Bank Plc, the MD, I do beg your pardon. Now, what is your assessment of the current challenges facing the Nigerian economy, and how have they impacted the banking sector?
Well, the Nigerian economy is facing a lot of, and the polity is facing a lot of challenges. We know there is no gainsaying. We've been a mono economy for quite a long time. So anytime either the quantity or the price of petroleum products, the crude oil is affected, we are affected. The last 2 years, 2019, we had a recession, and then we had the COVID. In 2020, all of these have stressed the nation. But to worsen the situation, we have Boko Haram for the last perhaps more than 10 years, fighting the nation, exhausting our resources that should have gone into real development. Then the bandits are there. They're stopping people from moving freely, farmers from going to the farm. So all of these have taken a toll. Agriculture used to be the sector. It's still the sector that is the bedrock of the nation's GDP. But still, with the stress around the communities, many farmers are unable to go to the farm and increase the production that would have compensated for the growth in population and also the challenges in the proceeds from the production of crude. All of these are really challenges, and you know, we have fundamental issues around policies, around ease of doing business, a lot of voids around that need to be fixed, whether to do with land issues or whether to do with infrastructure. All of these are issues that are already there, but recent insecurity has worsened the challenges that we as a nation are facing, both on the economic and the political fronts. These are things that affects all of us. I think that the government should continue to focus on dealing with the insecurity issues, because without security, peace and security, you cannot increase or even maintain current economic activities. All the policies that are needed to reform our institutions and also reform the economy, make business easy to do, and also reducing the involvement of government into business and encouraging the development of the infrastructure through public-private partnership. These are things that should be really expedited. That to fix the economy is really a big challenge, but the right policies, when they are put to attract the private sector, both local and international, these are things that will ensure that we grow at higher than the 2% that we are growing, which is really below the population growth. And that's going to be putting us in more and more trouble if we don't really fix this growth problem. If you don't grow the economy, the vicious cycle of insecurity will continue, and we need to do this. All of this, of course, affects banking, because insecurity affects our customers' ability to do business, and therefore their ability to either keep safe and keep deposits, or their ability to repay their obligations. So, and that is going to stress the balance sheet of banks. It will exacerbate the current level of non-performing assets that banks have, which has moderated over the last 1.5 years. Surely banks are not working in isolation. Yes, they might be recording some positive gains in terms of reported profitability. But if you look at the level of inflation, you see also you have to downgrade the level of profit that we've been able to make, and certainly in real terms, the growth is not as reported if you look at the economy and inflation, and also the depreciation in the currency. So all of these issues affect capacity of customers of the banks, and therefore impact negatively on the banks. Now, directly, the cost of doing business for the bank because of inflation, cost control is going to be more challenging, and therefore, if these things are not arrested, they will affect performance of institutions.
But in all of this, if you were to prefer solutions, what would those solutions be to all these challenges? How would you advise the government to go as regards all of this?
Well, the advice is, they are commonplace. First, we have to try to fix the insecurity situation. We have to do reforms where there are wastages. We need to flog them because resources need to be, for you to see growth, you need to really invest in infrastructure. The capital budget is shrinking year in, year out, and even the utilization of that budget is also even more in the downsides. So all of these things need to be done. Yes, you borrow, and if you are borrowing to fix some of this infrastructure, it's good, but make sure that these infrastructures that you are fixing can also benefit the society or produce the type of value that can repay those loans. Some of them quite the big size of it in foreign currency. So I think the reality is that government need to look at how to save and reduce costs of operating the government itself, because the recurrent expenditure is well over 70% of the budget. If you include also the servicing of the debts, altogether it's taking almost all the budget, leaving very little for capital expenditure. That's the money that you require to invest in critical sectors such as education, which is needing a lot of attention, and the right education in this 21st century, where you need to fix and not only invest in existing infrastructures, but in new infrastructure of education that will shape the success of the nation going forward. Similarly, you can't but also fix all this, the roads, the airports, to ensure that movements and therefore economic activities are going on freely. But all of this can achieve much less if you don't fix the insecurity that we currently are facing, especially insecurity around the movement of people, the life and safety of lives and properties of the common man. All of this need to be fixed in order to be able to see the growth in the economy.
Well, Madam Hassan Usman, we can only thank you very much for joining us. There are other questions we would have loved to ask. How you are dealing with customer expectations and also the ideological orientation of the bank, Islamic banking. And there are issues with that, because we're told that Islamic banks do not finance consumption of alcohol and some other things. But we seem to have run out of time. So thank you very much.